The evening settles softly and quietly, folding its velvet wings over the jagged coastline, whilst you find yourself nestled safely and warmly within the ancient and weathered stones of the lighthouse base. Outside, the world is vast, boundless, and stretching into the infinite indigo of the gloaming, but here, inside this sanctuary of stillness, there is only the rhythmic, steady, and soothing pulse of peace. The walls around you are thick and formidable, built from granite that has stood for centuries, offering you a steadfast embrace that shields you from the restless wandering of the wind. Take a deep breath, slowly and deeply, inhaling the scent of the sea, the salty, briny, and ancient air, and feel your body beginning to settle, sinking and drifting into the soft embrace of your surroundings. Your toes, those tiny and tired and weary travelers of the day, begin to release their hold, softening and relaxing and uncurling amidst the warmth of the heavy blankets. Feel the relaxation spreading, flowing like a gentle and lukewarm tide, moving upward through your feet, your arches, and your ankles, as every muscle becomes heavy and leaden and wonderfully still. The feet are the foundation, much like the great stones beneath this tower, and now they are resting, sinking into the soft textures of the floor, becoming part of the earth itself. There is no more walking to be done, no more paths to follow, only the quiet journey inward into the heart of the night. The relaxation wanders and meanders through your calves, your knees, and your thighs as they surrender to the gravity of the earth, feeling the solid and sturdy and unwavering floor beneath you. You are, like the lighthouse itself, rooted and grounded and unshakable, whilst the rest of the world fades into a distant and murmuring memory. Every muscle in your legs is now softening, melting away like wax, from a slow-burning candle becoming loose and limp and perfectly at ease. The hips and the lower back release their burdens, the tension evaporating and vanishing and dissipating like the morning mist under a kind and golden sun. You feel the weight of your body pressing down a comforting and grounding pressure that tells you that you are safe, you are held, and you are cherished within this tower of silence. The spine, that long and faithful pillar of your being, begins to settle, each vertebra finding its place in the quietude of the evening. From the very base to the nape of your neck, a wave of tranquility flows, washing away the remnants of the day, leaving behind only a sense of profound and absolute stillness. Your abdomen rises and falls, rising and falling in a rhythmic and hypnotic and drowsy melody that belongs only to you. Each breath is a tide coming in and going out, ebbing and flowing, a watery heartbeat that complements the distant and echoing sounds of the sea. You are breathing in the moonlight, silver and cool, and breathing out the last lingering fragments of noise, leaving your interior hollow and light, and yet profoundly heavy with the promise of sleep. Your fingers, long and slender and quiet, begin to still, resting gently upon the sheets, feeling the texture and the smoothness and the comforting weight of the fabric. The palms of your hands grow warm, glowing with a soft and internal heat, as the relaxation climbs and wanders through your wrists, your forearms, and your elbows. Your shoulders, which have carried the weight of the day, now drop, sinking and falling away from your ears, becoming broad and peaceful like the horizon where the sea meets the sky. There is a lightness in your limbs now, a feeling of being suspended in a medium of pure peace, drifting on a tide of tranquility that has no shore. You are a vessel of stillness, a quiet and slumbering and resting form that is ready to begin the journey toward the light. The neck and the throat soften, the jaw unclenches, and the tongue rests lightly as the face becomes a mask of perfect and serene and undisturbed tranquility. Your eyes, weary from the light of the day, now find comfort in the shadows, the flickering and dancing and swaying shadows cast by the hearth. The forehead becomes smooth, a vast and clear and empty landscape as every thought begins to dissolve, melting and flowing away like rain upon the glass. You are no longer thinking, no longer planning, no longer remembering. You are simply being a solitary watcher in a world of shadows, solitary but peaceful, wrapped in the soft and thick and woolen cloak of the night. Listen closely to the whispering and the murmuring and the soft shushing of the waves against the distant and craggy shore. They are calling to you, singing a lullaby that is ancient and timeless and endless, telling you that it is time to let go, to drift and to float. The sound is a rhythmic pulse, a watery heartbeat that carries you deeper and deeper into the sanctuary of your own mind. The wind writ outside a high-pitched and lonely and wandering sound, but it cannot reach you here, behind the thick and protective glass. The wind only serves to emphasize the warmth and the safety and the stillness of your position. You are protected by the steadfast walls of the tower, held within a cocoon of light and stone. The body is now a landscape of peace, every muscle and every nerve and every cell vibrating with the quiet energy of the evening. You are sinking deeper into the blankets, the textures becoming a soft and inviting cloud that supports you without effort. The darkness of the room is not empty. It is a thick and textured and multi-layered tapestry of comfort, a velvet embrace that hides the world and reveals the dream. You are safe, you are warm, and you are ready to move beyond the physical, to enter the layers of the watch, where the spirit begins to soar. The breath continues its steady and unwavering and hypnotic cycle, a mechanical prayer that banishes the darkness and invites the light. Drifting and floating and wandering through the corridors of your mind, you find that the world outside has ceased to matter. There is no time here, only the eternal and ever-present now, a moment stretched thin and beautiful like a thread of silk caught in a gentle breeze. You are the guardian of this stillness, the keeper of this silence, and you perform your duty with a sense of effortless and serene and absolute grace. The body is grounded, rooted in the earth, yet the spirit feels as though it could float, rising and drifting and ascending towards the pinnacle of the watch. You are prepared, you are still, and you are profoundly at peace. As the relaxation reaches its peak, you feel a sense of heavy and leaden and total surrender. There is no part of you that remains tense, no part of you that remains awake to the world of noise. You are a solitary sentinel, but you are not lonely. You are part of the lighthouse, part of the sea, and part of the ancient and eternal rhythm of the universe. The night is your kingdom, and the silence is your throne. You are ready now, ready to open the door, to climb the stairs, and to take your place among the stars. The journey has begun softly and quietly in the heart of the stone and the light. Now, amidst the gathering gloom of the lower chamber, you find yourself standing before the heavy and ancient and formidable door that leads to the heart of the tower. Your hand, steady and slow, reaches out to grasp the iron ring, a cold and rusted and silvered circle that has been smoothed by the touch of 1,000 nameless watchers before you. The metal is biting and chilling and tingling against your palm, a sharp contrast to the lingering warmth of the hearth you have just left behind. You feel the weight of it, the immense and solid and grounding gravity of the iron, and as you begin to turn it, the mechanism within the lock moans a low and guttural and rhythmic protest of metal against metal, echoing and resonating and vibrating through the very bones of your arm. The hinges sigh a long and drawn-out and breathy sound as the door yields to your gentle pressure, swinging open to reveal the yawning and cavernous and seemingly infinite throat of the great spiral. Beyond the threshold lies the base of the tower, a stone landscape of shadow and silence, where the air is different. It is old and stagnant and heavy with the scent of salt mist, dried seaweed, and the faint metallic tang of the great lantern's oil. You take your first step forward, and the sound of your boot upon the stone is a solitary and hollow and echoing thud that ripples outward, bouncing against the curved and damp and lichen-covered walls. The darkness here is not empty, but filled with the presence of the stones, those steadfast and sturdy and immovable guardians that have held the light aloft through a century of tempests. You begin the ascent, moving slowly and deliberately and softly, as if you are walking through the architecture of a dream, each step a conscious act of surrender to the vertical and soaring and towering realm of the sky. The stairs are narrow and winding and spiraling, a serpent of granite that coils around the central axis of the lighthouse. And as you climb, the world below begins to diminish, fading and shrinking and dissolving into a distant and unimportant memory. The walls press in gently, not with a sense of confinement, but with a firm and protective and unwavering embrace. The stones themselves whispering stories of storms survived and horizons watched. Your handheld lantern flickers, dancing and swaying and casting long and spindly and distorted shadows that climb the walls ahead of you like silent companions. You watch the way the golden glow licks at the rough-hewn rock, revealing the intricate and delicate and minute textures of the granite, the tiny fissures, the silver flecks of mica, and the smooth patches worn down by generations of keepers. The climb is a rhythmic and hypnotic and meditative progression through the dark, a cadence of movement that marks your departure from the flat and horizontal world of the shore. Each step requires a slow and heavy and liquid grace, a physical manifestation of your journey toward the pinnacle of the watch. You count the steps, not with numbers but with heartbeats, each one a pulse of tranquility, each one a deeper immersion into the seafaring spirit of the tower. Above you, the staircase stretches upward into the shadows, a hun-hoot and cavernous and echoing path that seems to have no end. Yet you feel no haste, no urgency, and no pressure. There is only the climb, the steady and unwavering and peaceful progression through the stone throat of the sentinel. As you reach the first landing, a small and recessed and arched alcove, you pause for a moment to rest your hand against the wall, feeling the cold and damp and pulsating life of the stone. The granite is vibrant with the distant vibrations of the sea, a deep and resonant and grounding heartbeat that travels through the foundations and into your very marrow. Through a narrow and vertical and ancient slit in the masonry, a wind loop designed to let the tower breathe, you catch a glimpse of the world you are leaving behind. The sea is a vast and heaving and boundless expanse of indigo, its surface broken only by the white and ghostly and ephemeral foam of the breaking waves. It looks distant and surreal, like a painting viewed through a veil of mist, and you feel a sense of profound detachment, a peaceful and quiet and serene isolation. The wind outside writ and whistles and cries a high-pitched and lonely and wandering melody that searches for a way through the thick masonry but finds none. You listen to the sound the way it lashes against the exterior, and you feel a deeper sense of security knowing that you are held within the steadfast and sturdy and impenetrable sanctuary of the tower. The sound of the wind only serves to emphasize the warmth and the stillness and the silence of the interior. You are a solitary watcher in the heights, solitary but not lonely, wrapped in the protective and ancient and enduring embrace of the lighthouse. The air grows cooler as you rise, a crisp and refreshing and invigorating chill that clears the mind and settles the soul, carrying the ozonic scent of the great Atlantic. You resume the climb, the spiral turning and twisting and meandering ever upward, drawing you away from the earth and lifting you into a state of suspension where the only reality is the next step. Your breath is steady and soft and rhythmic, filling the narrow space and mingling with the scent of the old stones. The lantern in your hand swings gently, its light creating a rhythmic and swaying and pendulous motion that lulls the senses, making your head feel heavy and drowsy and beautifully clouded. The stone steps underfoot seem to soften, becoming fluid and flowing like a river of grey silk that carries you upward without effort. You are drifting now, floating through the heart of the tower, rising toward the crown of light that awaits you at the summit. The atmosphere becomes thinner and clearer and more ethereal as you approach the upper reaches, where the smell of the sea becomes sharper and more primal. Yet within the thrumming heart of the lighthouse, everything remains still and quiet and perfectly ordered. You feel a sense of deep and ancient and ancestral safety, as if the tower itself is a living being, a grandfatherly presence that has taken you into its care, shielding you from the chaos of the night. The stairs begin to narrow even further, the curve becoming tighter and more intimate as you reach the penultimate level. You are almost there, almost at the pinnacle of your watch, and the anticipation is a soft and warm and glowing ember in your chest, a quiet flame of purpose that guides you through the shadows. You take the final few steps of this section, your movements slow and liquid and entirely effortless, as the world of the shore becomes 1,000 miles away, lost in the mists of the lower altitudes. You are high above the earth, suspended in a sanctuary of stone and glass, ready to take your place as the guardian of the horizon. The door to the lantern room stands before you, a smaller and more delicate portal of brass and wood. And as you reach for the handle, you feel a sense of completion, a homecoming, and a total and absolute release into the embrace of the Aspius. Watch. The journey through the spiral is over, and the watch in the light is about to begin. Amidst the silence and the stars, and the eternal murmuring of the sea, everything is poised, everything is quiet, and everything is waiting for your arrival. The light above is a beacon of peace, a silver and unwavering and steadfast promise that keeps the darkness at bay. You breathe in the stillness, let it fill your lungs, and your heart, and your spirit, and you prepare to step into the crystalline heart of the tower. The watch is your sanctuary, the light is your shield, and the night is your cradle. You are ready, you are still, and you are profoundly and beautifully at peace. The door to the lantern room yields opening with a soft and weighted and sighing resistance. And as you step across the threshold, you are greeted by the living and breathing and humming heart of the lighthouse. Here the air is thick and warm and cocoon-like, wrapped in the scent of heated brass, refined paraffin, and the ancient and metallic perfume of the rotating gears. The silence of the stairs has been replaced by a sound so constant, so steady, and so rhythmic that it feels like the very pulse of the universe, the tireless and revolving and relentless whirring of the great clockwork mechanism that carries the weight of the lens. It is a low-frequency vibration, a deep and resonant and grounding thrum that enters through the soles of your feet and travels upward, settling in your chest, calming your heart, and aligning your breath with the mechanical soul of the tower. You move toward the central pedestal, your footsteps muffled and softened and absorbed by the heavy floor as you find yourself drawn to the mountain of glass that rises before you. The Fresnel lens is a cathedral of crystal rising up in tiers of shimmering and glittering and translucent prisms that capture the small flame at its center and stretch it into a celestial spear of light. You reach out a hand, your fingers trembling slightly and softly and gently to touch the brass framework that holds the glass in place. The metal is warm, glowing with an internal heat, a comforting and radiant and steady temperature that feels like a living skin beneath your fingertips. You let your hand glide and wander and meander across the polished surface, feeling the minute and microscopic vibrations of the rotation, a tactile melody that speaks of engineering and endurance. The sound of the machinery is a symphony of tiny and delicate and intricate noises that fill the warm air of the room. You listen to the faint click-clack of the escapement, a sound that is as precise and unwavering and faithful as the passage of time itself. You hear the smooth and liquid and oily slosh of the lubricants within their baths, a sound of ease and fluidity and grace. And beneath it all, there is the low and continuous and mourning groan of the heavy weights, descending slowly, ever so slowly, through the dark shaft in the center of the tower. These sounds combine into a tapestry of noise that is dense and rich and profoundly anodyne, a sonic blanket that tucks you in and shields you from the sharp edges of thought. You find yourself mesmerized by a single gear, a golden and gleaming and meticulously polished wheel with teeth that mesh and slide and part with a liquid and oily and silent perfection. You watch the way a single tooth approaches its partner, feeling the anticipation of the contact, and then the soft and firm and absolute union as they push together to move the weight of the crystal. The movement is so slow, so deliberate, and so hypnotic that it feels as though time has begun to stretch and dilate and dissolve into the amber air. You spend hundreds of heartbeats simply observing the way the light catches the edge of the gear, creating a flickering and dancing and swaying reflection that moves in time with the rotation. The world of the land, The world of noise and hurry has ceased to exist. There is only the light, the sound, and the endless watch. Outside the thick and curved and immovable panes of glass, the wind is beginning to rise, a high-pitched and lonely and wandering whistle that searches for a way into your sanctuary but finds none. You can hear it lashing against the exterior, a sound of wildness and chaos. But here, inside the steadfast walls, you are protected and safe and warm. The sound of the wind only serves to deepen the silence within a contrast that makes the warmth feel warmer, the stillness feel stiller, and the safety feel more absolute. You watch a single bead of condensation as it forms on the inner surface of the glass, a tiny and silver and translucent orb that begins its slow and languid and meandering journey downward, tracing a path through the faint reflection of the light. The air you breathe is cool, but carries the warmth of the lamp, a perfect and balanced and soothing temperature that fills your lungs with tranquility. With every breath, you feel yourself sinking deeper into the watch, your mind becoming as clear and empty as the glass that surrounds you. You are the watcher, the silent guardian. But the duty is not a burden. It is a release, a permission to be still and quiet and entirely present in this single, beautiful moment. The revolving movement of the gears becomes your only reality, a mechanical mantra that clears away the last lingering shadows of the day, leaving you hollow and peaceful and ready to drift into the deeper reaches of the night. Your attention turns to the oil lamp at the center of the glassworks, where the flame burns with a quiet and focused and intense purpose. It is a small and steady and unwavering spear of gold, reflected 1,000 times in the myriad prisms of the lens. You watch the way the light reflects and refracts and dances, creating a kaleidoscope of amber and silver and indigo that washes over the walls of the room. The light is soft and diffuse and gentle, casting no harsh shadows, only a warm and glowing and crepuscular haze that blurs the boundaries of the room. You feel as though you are standing inside a giant crystalline heart, a place of pure energy and absolute stillness. The floor beneath you is unmoving, an ancient and granite foundation that has held fast against a century of storms, and you draw strength from its steadfast and unwavering and eternal stability. You feel the weight of your own body, the heavy and sinking and grounded sensation of your limbs as they rest against the sturdy structures of the tower. You are safe, you are warm, and you are held within the light. The rhythmic and hypnotic and drowsy pulse of the lighthouse is a tether holding you safely in place, whilst the rest of the world spins into the dark. You are drifting, you are floating, and you are wandering through the vast and open spaces of your own consciousness, carried on the wings of the light. As you stand there, suspended between the sea and the sky, the very concept of time begins to stretch and dilate and dissolve. A minute feels like an hour feels like a single indrawn breath. There is no hurry, no end, and no beginning, only the constant and circular and comforting rotation of the light. The shadows in the corners of the room are soft and inviting, and velvet black whispering of the deep sleep that waits beyond the horizon of your watch. But for now you remain in the flow, the endless and timeless and beautiful flow, drifting through the crystalline heart of the tower, listening to the music of the gears and the lullaby of the wind. Everything is slowing down, stretching out, and becoming a single eternal moment of being. The click of the machinery, the hum of the lens, and the sigh of the wind, they are all part of the same great universal lullaby. You are sinking deeper now, into the soft and velvet and charcoal depths of the night, where the light is a distant star and the dark is a warm and protective blanket. You are ready to move beyond the physical, to let the light carry you into the realm of pure affirmations and peaceful dreams. The lighthouse stands, the machinery turns, and you are held safely and warmly and eternally within the heart of the tower. Beyond the thick and shivering and immovable glass of the lantern room, the great beam of light begins its long and lonely and rhythmic journey across the face of the deep. It is a silver-white ribbon, a celestial thread, and a shimmering spear that cuts through the indigo velvet of the night, reaching out and further out into the boundless and unfathomable and echoing expanse of the Atlantic. You watch the beam as it sweeps, and the beam as it wanders, and the beam as it caresses the restless and murmuring surface of the water. It moves with a grace that is ancient, and a movement that is timeless. A rotation that is as steady and unwavering and faithful as the turning of the stars themselves. The light goes out searching the dark, and the light returns, illuminating the mist, and the light goes out again over the waves, over the foam, and over the endless and heaving swells of the sea. As the light sweeps over the water, you see the sea rise to meet it, 1,000 white-capped crests, leaping and dancing and flickering like ghost fire in the dark. The ocean is a living and breathing and pulsing entity, a gargantuan creature that sighs and groans beneath the heavy and leaden weight of the night. You see the light touch a wave, and the wave reflects the silver. You see the light move to the next wave, and that wave too glows for a brief and fleeting and beautiful second before returning to the shadows. It is a dance of light and water, a rhythmic repetition of brightness and darkness, and a cyclical melody of vision that lulls the mind into a state of profound and heavy and leaden drowsiness. Over the swells, over the troughs, and over the churning and bubbling wake of the tide, the light continues its watch, unwavering and steadfast and resolute. The light travels over the foam, and the light travels over the spray, and the light travels over the deep and dark and silent valleys of the ocean. Each sweep of the lantern is a promise, kept a heartbeat of safety sent out into the cold and indifferent and vast wild. You follow the beam with your eyes, your gaze drifting, and your vision floating, and your awareness wandering along that silver path, until it vanishes into the deep and distant and echoing darkness of the horizon. There, where the sea meets the sky, the light seems to dissolve, melting into the mist and becoming one with the salt vapor and the starlight. It is a journey without an end, a movement without a destination, and a circular and hypnotic and wandering flow that mirrors the endless and timeless journey of your own thoughts. In the silence of the watch, you begin to notice the repetition of the wind, the way it rises and the way it falls and the way it whispers against the glass. The wind sings to the tower, and the tower stands firm. The wind lashes the stone, and the stone remains still. The wind ruffles the light, and the light burns on. There is a rhythm in the conflict, and a harmony in the weather, a steady and pulsing and melodic cadence that breathes through the structure of the lighthouse. You feel the vibration of the wind in the very air of the room, a subtle and ethereal and ghostly trembling that makes the warmth of the interior feel even more precious and even more sacred and even more safe. You are wrapped in a cocoon of light, shielded by the thickness of the glass, whilst the world outside is a theatre of shadows and salt and spray. The light sweeps and the shadows retreat. The light passes and the shadows return. It is a constant and rhythmic and predictable ebb and flow, a visual tide that washes over your consciousness and settles in your spirit. You find yourself counting the sweeps not with numbers but with breaths, one indrawn breath as the light moves away, and one long and slow and sighing exhalation as the light returns to brush against the glass. The repetition is a sedative, a heavy and warm and golden blanket that settles over your limbs, making your body feel as though it is made of solid and ancient and enduring granite. You are becoming part of the tower, your bones, the stone, your breath, the wind and your spirit, the unwavering and rotating flame at the center of the world. You look down, far down to where the base of the tower meets the craggy and jagged and salt-stained rocks. The light momentarily illuminates the murmuring and the shushing, the soft shushing of the white water as it boils and bubbles around the foundations. The sea tries to climb the tower, and the sea falls back. The sea strikes the rock, and the sea shatters into mist. The sea retreats into the dark, only to come again and again and again. This movement, this eternal and rhythmic and liquid repetition is the pulse of the earth itself. It is a sound that has existed since the dawn of time, a lullaby that has hushed the world for an eternity, and now it is hushing you, pulling you down deeper and deeper into the soft and yielding and velvet embrace of the night. The light sweeps over a distant buoy, a lonely and bobbing and rhythmic point of iron that disappears and reappears in the silver beam. You watch the buoy as it rises, and you watch the buoy as it falls, and you watch the buoy as it drifts in the dark. It is a small thing, a fragile thing, yet it is held by the same sea that holds the tower. Everything is connected, everything is floating, and everything is drifting in the great and indigo and endless flow of the universe. You feel the weight of this realization, a heavy and peaceful and serene gravity that settles in your mind, clearing away the last flickers of wakefulness. Your eyes are half closed now, seeing the world through a haze of silver and shadow, a dreamscape of light and water and infinite space. Within the lantern room, the steady revolving of the machinery has become a part of your own heartbeat. The gears turn and the light rotates. The light rotates and the world is watched. The world is watched and you are safe. There is no time here, only the cycle, the repetition, and the endless and timeless and beautiful return of the light. The brass of the lens frame glows, and the glass of the prisms glimmers, and the shadows in the corners deepen into a soft and inviting and velvet charcoal. You are drifting, you are floating, and you are wandering through the vast and open spaces of the night, carried on the wings of the light and supported by the strength of the stone. The beam of light is a bridge, a path, and a silver road that leads from the known into the unknown. You follow it with your mind, walking out across the waves, stepping over the foam and wandering through the mist until you are no longer a person standing in a tower, but a consciousness floating in the dark. You are the light, and you are the shadow. You are the stone, and you are the sea. The solitude of your watch is no longer a thing of loneliness, but a thing of majesty, a vast and quiet and peaceful communion with the infinite. You are alone, and you are whole. You are solitary, and you are at peace. You are the keeper, and you are the kept. The light sweeps one last time for this moment, a long and slow and lingering caress across the horizon, and as it moves away, you feel yourself sinking and falling and drifting into the heavy and warm and waiting arms of the silence. The rhythmic pulse of the machinery, the repetitive sigh of the sea, and the constant and unwavering presence of the light, they all combine into a single and beautiful and hypnotic chord that resonates through your entire being. You are ready to go deeper, to move beyond the physical, and to enter the layers of the dream, where the light and the dark are one. The lighthouse holds you, the sea cradles you, and the night whispers your name in a voice made of salt and starlight. The silence within the lantern room has deepened, now becoming a thick and heavy and velvet texture that wraps around you, cocooning you in a world where the only reality is the minute and the small and the infinitesimal. The great sweep of the light across the Atlantic continues, but your focus has drifted and floated and wandered inward, turning toward the microscopic wonders of your sanctuary. You find yourself gazing and staring and mesmerized by a single and solitary dust mote that has been caught in the edge of the great beam. It is a tiny and silver and translucent speck of existence, dancing a slow and languid and meandering ballet in the warm and stagnant air. You watch it for what feels like an eternity as it rises on a microscopic current of heat from the lamp, then falls tumbling and spiraling and drifting downward with the grace of a falling star. It is a world unto itself, a miniature planet, floating in the vast and golden galaxy of the room. And as you watch it, your own sense of size and of time and of self begins to dissolve, melting away into the quietude of the watch. Your gaze wanders and meanders and lingers upon the heavy and leather-bound logbook. The paper is old and yellowed and parchment-like, with edges that are frayed and soft and smelling of the salt mist and the passage of decades. You look at the ink, the faded and sepia and ghostly script of keepers long gone. their words recording the wind and the tide and the light and the eternal and unchanging rhythm of the sea. You focus on a single letter, a capital L, for light, and you begin to trace the curve of the ink with your eyes, seeing the way the pigment has bled into the fibers of the paper, creating tiny and microscopic branching, veins like the delta of a river. You spend hundreds of heartbeats simply observing the texture of the page, the way the light from the lantern catches the ridges and valleys of the paper's grain, making it look like a vast and snow-covered landscape viewed from a great height. Every scratch of the pen and every smudge of a thumb from 100 years ago is a testament to the steadfast and enduring and timeless nature of this watch. The steadily revolving machinery has slowed in your perception, becoming a series of individual and distinct and melodic notes rather than a continuous hum. You focus on a single brass gear, a golden and gleaming and meticulously polished wheel with teeth that mesh and slide and part with a liquid and oily and silent perfection. You watch the way the lubricating oil, a clear and viscous and honeyed substance, clings to the metal, forming a thin and shimmering film that catches the light and turns it into a rainbow of iridescent colors. You follow the rotation of a single tooth, watching it approach its partner, enter the gap, and push gently and softly and relentlessly, moving the weight of the crystal lens with the ease of a dream. The sound is a soft and rhythmic and hushing click-clack, click-clack, a mechanical heartbeat that is so steady and so predictable and so safe that it lulls your mind into a state of total and absolute and heavy-lidded surrender. Beyond the glass, the sea has become a distant and murmuring memory, a soft shushing that is felt more as a vibration in the stone than a sound in the ear. The wind, too, has softened its whistle, and its cry turning into a low and mournful and sighing moan that breathes against the tower like a tired beast. You are safe within the steadfast walls of the granite tap, protected by the layers of glass and the centuries of tradition. You focus on a small and brass rivet in the frame of the window, a tiny and circular and solid point of metal that has held its place against 1,000 storms. You observe the way the shadows pool around its base, a dark and velvet and indigo ink that seems to grow and shrink with the flickering of the lamp. The shadow is not empty. It is a deep and rich and textured space that invites you to rest your eyes, to let your vision blur, and to let your thoughts drift away into the deep and echoing silence of the inner mind. The air in the room is still and perfectly still, yet it feels alive, vibrating with the energy of the light and the ancient history of the tower. You can feel the warmth of the lamp on your skin, a soft and radiant and gentle heat that feels like a physical embrace. It is a heavy warmth, a sleepy warmth, and a warmth that makes your muscles feel like they are turning to liquid gold, flowing downward and sinking into the floor and becoming one with the earth. You are no longer standing. You are floating, suspended in a medium of pure peace, drifting on a tide of tranquility that has no shore. Every breath you take is slow and deep and rhythmic, a long and sighing inhalation of the salted air, followed by a longer and slower and more complete release of all that you are. You are hollow, and you are light, and you are a vessel for the silence. You turn your attention back to the great lens, the mountain of glass that rotates with such silent and majestic purpose. You look through one of the lower prisms and you see the world outside distorted and bent and transformed into a kaleidoscope of silver and indigo. The horizon is no longer a straight line, but a curving and flowing and dancing ribbon of light. The stars, those tiny and cold and distant points of fire, are stretched into long and shimmering streaks of white. You are looking through the eye of the lighthouse, seeing the world as the light sees it, vast and beautiful and utterly at peace. The repetition of the light, the sweep and the return, and the sweep and the return becomes a visual mantra that clears away the last vestiges of your ego, leaving only the watcher, the silent and solitary and peaceful observer of the night. The solitude of the watch is now a sanctuary, a sacred space where the noise of the world cannot reach. You are alone, but you are not lonely. You are part of the lighthouse and part of the sea and part of the ancient and eternal flow that carries all things toward the dawn. You find yourself leaning your forehead against the cool and solid brass of the lens carriage, feeling the slow and rhythmic and hypnotic vibration of the motor. It is a grounding sensation, a physical anchor that keeps you safe whilst your mind begins to float and to drift and to wander into the dream space of the high watch. The metal is cool at first, then warms to your touch, a slow exchange of life and energy that makes you feel as though you are breathing with the tower itself. Everything is slowing down, stretching out, and becoming a single and eternal moment of being. The click of the clock and the hum of the gears and the sigh of the wind, they are all part of the same and great and universal lullaby. You are sinking deeper now into the soft and velvet and charcoal depths of the night, where the light is a distant star and the dark is a warm and protective blanket. You are ready to let go of the physical, to move beyond the stone and the glass, and to become a part of the light that sweeps across the infinite. The watch continues, the light rotates, and you are held safely and warmly and eternally within the heart of the tower. The weight of your physical form, that heavy and leaden and grounded vessel of bone and muscle, begins to undergo a profound and mysterious and beautiful transformation. As you lean against the solid and unwavering and steadfast mahogany of the desk, you feel the boundaries of your skin starting to soften, to blur, and to dissolve into the warm and golden and amber haze of the lantern room. It is as if the density of the granite tower and the gravity of the earth are losing their ancient and relentless grip upon your spirit. You are no longer tethered to the floor. You are no longer bound by the laws of the heavy and material world. Instead, you feel a lightness, a buoyancy, and a floating sensation that begins in the very tips of your toes and wanders and meanders and ripples upward through your entire being. Your feet, which have climbed the spiral stairs and stood the long watch, now feel as though they are made of silver mist, drifting and hovering and swaying just a fraction of a millimeter above the floorboards. The sensation is one of exquisite and quiet and total release, as if you have stepped off the edge of the world and found yourself supported by a cushion of invisible and velvet air. The heavy blankets of the lower room, the solid stones of the staircase, and the rhythmic thrum of the gears, they all feel distant and echoing and strangely immaterial. You are rising not in body, but in essence, ascending into a state of pure and weightless and timeless consciousness. As you drift upward, the lantern room begins to shift and to shimmer and to melt into a dreamscape of light and shadow. The thick and curved glass panes of the lantern seem to vanish, leaving you suspended in the open and cool and indigo night air. Yet you feel no cold, only a perfect and balanced and serene tranquility. You are floating amidst the prisms of the great lens, moving through the glass as if it were liquid light, a river of crystal that flows around you without resistance. You are a part of the beam now, a silver-white consciousness that is being projected and cast and sent out into the vast and endless and echoing darkness of the ocean night. The sensation of movement is slow and liquid and entirely effortless. You are drifting out, and further out over the restless and whispering and murmuring waves of the Atlantic. Below you the sea is a heaving and indigo blanket, but you are high above its reaches, soaring on the wings of the lighthouse beam. You feel the air passing through you, a ghostly and ethereal and ozonic breeze that carries no weight, only the scent of distant stars and ancient salt. There is no up, no down, no forward or backward. There is only the flow, the endless flow of the light as it carries you through the velvet void. Your thoughts are no longer structured, no longer linear, but have become like dust motes floating and dancing and swirling in the infinite radiance of the watch. You look back and you see the lighthouse, a solitary and glowing and steadfast finger of stone, but it looks small and distant and like a toy floating in a vast and dark basin. The solitude you felt before has expanded into a sense of universal connection. You are not alone in the dark. You are the dark, and you are the light, and you are the space between the two. Your consciousness stretches and dilates and wanders across the surface of the water, feeling the rhythmic and pulsing and heavy heartbeat of the tide as if it were your own. You are suspended in a state of perfect equilibrium, a point of pure awareness that is neither here nor there but everywhere at once. The feeling of weightlessness is profound, a deep and cellular and spiritual unburdening. Every worry, every memory, and every tiny fragment of the day has been left behind in the heavy and stone walls of the tower. You find yourself drifting toward a bank of clouds, those soft and grey and wandering mountains of vapour that hang over the sea. As you enter the cloud, the world becomes a white and silent and muffled sanctuary. The light of the beam is diffused and scattered and turned into a soft and pearlescent glow that wraps around you like a cocoon of silk. Here in the heart of the mist there is no sound, no sight, only the feeling of being held and cradled and cherished by the atmosphere itself. You are floating and drifting and meandering through the cloud forest, feeling the tiny and microscopic and cool droplets of water as they brush against your ethereal form. It is a tactile melody of softness, a pitter-patter of silence that lulls you into an even deeper state of slumberous peace. The steady revolving of the machinery from the tower is now a distant and rhythmic and ghostly echo, a heartthrob from another life. You are moving beyond the mechanical, beyond the physical, and entering the realm of the purely celestial. You feel the pull of the moon, that silver and silent and ancient sister of the light, drawing you higher and lifting you toward the velvet ceiling of the universe. In this state of non-gravity, your sense of time has completely vanished. A single second of floating feels like 1,000 years of peace. 1,000 years of peace feels like a single and indrawn breath. You are caught in a timeless and endless and beautiful loop of being. You watch the stars above those flickering and dancing and ancient points of light, and you feel a sense of kinship with them. They too are floating in the dark, they too are watchers in the night, and they too are part of the great and silent and boundless journey of the cosmos. You are a star, you are a beam of light, and you are a whisper of wind over the deep. Your body back in the lighthouse is safe and warm, and resting in the deep and heavy and steadfast embrace of the watch. But your spirit is free and wandering, and exploring the infinite reaches of the night. You feel a sense of profound and quiet and overwhelming gratitude for this moment of release. The heavy and leaden world of the ground is a place of noise and shadow. But here, in the high and weightless spaces of the spirit, there is only the light and the silence. You are drifting, you are floating, and you are sinking upward into the soft and inviting and velvet depths of the dream. The beam of the lighthouse continues its steady and rhythmic and hypnotic rotation, and you are carried with it a passenger on a journey that has no end. Each sweep of the light takes you further into the mystery, further into the deep, and further into the dark and beautiful void. You are becoming thinner, more transparent, and more ethereal, until you are nothing but a glimmer, a spark, and a tiny and silver reflection on the face of the infinite. The sea below whispers its murmurs, a lullaby for the soul that has finally learned to fly, telling you that it is safe to let go, safe to drift, and safe to vanish into the night. You find yourself hovering over the very edge of the horizon, the place where the world ends and the dream begins. The light of the lighthouse is a thin and silver thread that connects you to the earth. But it is a thread made of starlight, flexible and glowing and weightless. You linger there in the space between the known and the unknown, feeling the slow and rhythmic and hypnotic pulse of the universe. You are ready to enter the silence, to become part of the eternal watch that knows no beginning and no end. The night is vast, the sea is deep, and you are finally and truly and absolutely free. The clock of the world has ceased to tick its hands, frozen in a moment of absolute and profound and eternal stillness, whilst you remain suspended within the heavy and hallowed and holy silence of the high watch. Time, that fleeting and ephemeral and rushing river of the day, has here become a vast and frozen and unchanging ocean of peace. You are no longer measuring the night in minutes or in hours, but in the slow and majestic and primordial breaths of the stone tower itself. The granite beneath you is ancient, formed in the fiery and chaotic and distant dawn of the earth, and it carries within its mineral heart the stillness of 1 billion years. You feel this ancientness, this steadfast and unwavering and eternal stability seeping into your very bones, turning your restless spirit into a monument of quietude and of grace. The air within the lantern room has become thick and textured and dense with the weight of the ages. It is a silence that is not empty, but filled with the echoes of 1,000 years of watching, 1,000 years of waiting, and 1,000 years of keeping the flame. You listen to the absence of sound, the way the silence rings and hums and vibrates with a frequency that belongs to the stars. It is a heavy silence, a protective silence, and a silence that wraps around you like a shroud of silver velvet, shielding you from the very concept of noise. Every thought that once flitted and danced and scurried through your mind has now settled, sinking like a stone into a deep and dark and bottomless well, leaving only a clear and glassy and undisturbed surface of awareness. You gaze out through the thick glass, not at the sea, but at the stars, those ancient and cold and distant points of fire that have watched over the world since its beginning. They are unmoving, fixed in their celestial and eternal and silent positions, weaving a tapestry of light that has no beginning and no end. You watch the constellation of the Great Bear, its silver stars glowing with a pale and steady and unwavering light, and you feel a sense of profound and quiet and overwhelming kinship. You are like them, a solitary watcher in the vast and indigo and echoing dark part of an order that is timeless and universal. The rotation of the lighthouse light is merely a reflection of the rotation of the heavens, a mechanical prayer that joins the rhythmic and pulsing and holy dance of the spheres. In this state of eternal stillness, even the movement of the machinery has become a part of the silence. The gears turn with a liquid and oily and noiseless grace, their sound having dissolved into the deeper thrum of the universe. You observe the way the shadows in the room have become static and immovable and permanent, as if they have been carved out of the very fabric of the night. You look at the shadow of the lens frame upon the wall, a dark and arched and majestic shape that does not flicker, does not sway, and does not change. It is a silhouette of eternity, a gateway into a realm where nothing ever passes and nothing ever fades. You find your gaze lingering upon the edge of the shadow, seeing the way it meets the golden glow of the lamp, a boundary between two worlds that are both equally still and equally peaceful. The world below the lighthouse, the world of land of people and of endless and restless activity, has vanished completely, leaving only this solitary pillar of stone in a boundless and indigo void. You feel a sense of monumental and archaic and absolute isolation, yet it is a state of being that is rich and full and profoundly satisfying. You are the only person left in the universe, the only witness to the night and the only keeper of the light. This realization does not bring fear or loneliness, but a deep and settling and grounding sense of purpose. You have become one with the lighthouse, a steadfast and sturdy and resolute sentinel that stands outside of time, watching over the dream of the world from a place of absolute and undisturbed tranquility. You focus your attention on the single central flame of the lamp, the heart of the tower that burns with a quiet and unwavering and immortal intensity. It is a flame that does not flicker in the wind, does not dim in the mist, and does not fail in the dark. It is a symbol of life that is eternal and constant and ever-present. You watch the way the light is captured and bent and released by the crystal prisms, a process that is as predictable and as holy as the rising of the sun. The light is old, carrying the memories of the oil and the wick and the hand that lit it, yet it is forever new, a fresh and silver and shimmering birth in every second. You breathe in the light, letting it fill your interior with a warm and golden and amber glow that banishes the last lingering shadows of the self. The stones of the tower seem to breathe with you, a slow and rhythmic and tectonic expansion and contraction that is felt rather than heard. You are resting your back against the curved wall, feeling the cold and solid and reassuring pressure of the granite against your spine. It is a contact that grounds you, reminding you that you are part of the earth, part of the rock, and part of the eternal and unchanging foundations of the world. You are sinking deeper into the stone, your consciousness meandering and wandering and drifting through the microscopic fissures and the crystalline structures of the rock. You are becoming the lighthouse, a vast and silent and unmoving entity that has seen the rise and fall of empires and the shifting of the very tides. Everything is slowing down, stretching out and becoming a single and infinite and beautiful moment of being. The silence is a heavy and warm and velvet blanket that has settled over your limbs, making your body feel as though it is made of solid and ancient and enduring bronze. Your eyes are half closed, seeing only the soft and blurred and crepuscular haze of the lantern room, a world of amber and shadow and silver mist. There is no more watch to keep, for the watch has become you, and you have become the watch. You are the light, you are the tower, and you are the night. The sense of eternity is absolute. You feel that you have stood here forever, and that you will stand here forevermore, a silent and solitary and peaceful guardian of the horizon. The sea below whispers its ancient and murmuring and rhythmic lullaby, but it is a sound that comes from another dimension, a distant and ghostly and echoes of a world that no longer concerns you. Here in the high and hallowed sanctuary of the light, there is only the stillness, the stars, and the boundless and indigo peace of the infinite. You are ready to let go of the last threads of identity, to dissolve and to melt and to vanish into the deep and quiet and eternal void of the watch. As you linger in this state of profound and archaic and holy tranquility, you feel a sense of total and absolute and heavy-lidded surrender. There is no more will, no more desire, and no more thought. There is only the presence, the stillness, and the light. You are a vessel of peace, a quiet and slumbering and resting form that is held within the heart of the tower, protected by the glass, shielded by the stone, and blessed by the stars. The night is your cradle, the silence is your song, and eternity is your home. You are drifting, you are floating, and you are finally and truly and beautifully still. Within the hallowed and holy and sheltered embrace of these granite walls, you are safe, you are secure, and you are profoundly and absolutely protected. The world outside may be vast and wild and chaotic, with winds that howl and waves that crash and shadows that wander across the deep. But here in the heart of the tower, you are held in a sanctuary that is invincible and steadfast and eternal. You feel the weight of this safety, a heavy and warm and golden presence that settles over your spirit like a cloak of thickest wool. Every stone of this lighthouse was laid with the intention of protection. Every beam was forged for endurance, and every pane of glass was tempered to stand against the storm. You are the recipient of this ancient care, the guest of honor in this fortress of peace, and you are invited to let go of every fear, every doubt, and every lingering tension. You are safe, you are safe, you are safe. The thick and curved and immovable glass of the lantern room is a transparent shield, a magical and crystalline and shimmering barrier that allows you to see the wildness of the night whilst remaining entirely untouched by its fury. You watch the rain as it lashes against the exterior, a rhythmic and drumming and soothing pitter-patter that only serves to emphasize the dry and warm and welcoming atmosphere within. The wind writ and cries and searches for a way through the frame, but it finds only the silent and sturdy and resolute defiance of the brass. You are tucked away, hidden and nestled and cocooned in a world where no harm can reach you, no noise can disturb you, and no worry can find a foothold. You are sheltered by the light, protected by the stone, and cradled by the very height of your position. In this high watch, you are beyond the reach of the world's heavy and tiring demands. You breathe in the affirmation of safety, a slow and deep and rhythmic inhalation that fills your chest with a sense of invulnerability and of grace. With every breath, you tell yourself that you are where you are meant to be, doing exactly what you are meant to do. In a place that was built to keep you whole, the lighthouse is a sentinel, a guardian, and a friend that has watched over the horizon for generations, and now it is watching over you. You feel the steadfastness of the floor beneath you, the way the granite foundations reach down into the very bedrock of the world, anchoring you in a state of absolute and unwavering stability. There is no shaking here, no trembling and no uncertainty. You are as solid as the stone, as bright as the flame, and as calm as the eye of the storm. The light that rotates around you is a silver and shimmering and constant benediction, a blessing that is cast out into the dark, but whose warmth remains concentrated here within your soul. You are held in a circle of light, a sacred and glowing and protective ring that banishes every shadow and softens every edge. You are safe in the silence, safe in the shadows, and safe in the rhythmic and hypnotic and drowsy pulse of the watch. You feel a sense of total and absolute and heavy-lidded surrender to this protection, a willingness to let the tower carry the burden of your existence. You do not need to hold yourself up, you do not need to guard yourself, and you do not need to be vigilant. The lighthouse is doing the watching for you, the machinery is doing the breathing for you, and the stone is doing the standing for you. You are free to simply be a quiet and resting and slumbering form in the heart of the light. Your body is a vessel of tranquility, every muscle and every nerve and every cell resonating with the quiet and powerful energy of peace. You feel the heavy and leaden and comforting weight of your limbs as they sink into the soft and yielding and velvet textures of the room. The chair beneath you, the desk beside you, and the floor under your feet are all extensions of the tower's unwavering strength. You are being supported by 1,000 years of engineering and 1,000,000 years of geology. There is no force in the world that can reach you here, no tide that can wash you away, and no wind that can shake your resolve. You are anchored in the infinite, floating in a sea of absolute and profound and eternal safety. You are cherished, you are held, and you are profoundly at peace. Listen to the rhythmic and steady and soothing click-clack of the gears, a mechanical heartbeat that tells you that all is well, all is right, and all is in its proper place. The sound is a lullaby of order, a melody of precision, and a song of safety that has no end. It whispers to you that the watch is constant, the light is faithful, and the night is kind. You find yourself drifting and floating and wandering on the wings of this sound, moving further and further away from the sharp and jagged and noisy world of the land. You are entering a realm of soft and blurred and crepuscular beauty, a place where the light and the dark are friends, and where the silence is a warm and inviting ocean. You are safe to drift, safe to dream, and safe to vanish into the velvet depths of the night. The solitude of the High Watch is a gift, a sacred and quiet and solitary privilege that allows you to reconnect with the core of your being. You are the master of this space, the keeper of this peace, and the sovereign of this silence. There is a deep and settling and grounding joy in this isolation, a feeling of being perfectly whole and perfectly sufficient within the boundaries of the light. You are not alone, for the light is your companion, the sea is your witness, and the stars are your kin. You are part of a great and ancient and universal family of watchers, and you are held in the same and eternal and unwavering embrace that holds the cosmos together. You are safe, you are safe, you are safe. As the watch progresses, the sense of protection only deepens, becoming an immutable and permanent and holy law of your existence. You feel that the very air in the lantern room has been distilled and purified and infused with the essence of calm. Every indrawn breath is a draught of peace. Every exhaled breath is a release of the last lingering fragments of the self. You are becoming as transparent and clear and empty as the glass, allowing the light to pass through you without resistance. You are a ghost in the machine, a whisper in the stone, and a glimmer in the dark. There is nothing left to fear, for there is nothing left to lose. You have found the center, the heart, and the sanctuary of the watch. The night is a cradle, and the lighthouse is the hand that rocks it. a slow and rhythmic and hypnotic movement that lulls you into the deepest and most restorative and most beautiful slumber. You are sinking now, falling and drifting and meandering into the heavy and warm and waiting arms of the void. The light continues its sweep, the gears continue their turn, and the sea continues its murmur. But you are beyond their reach, floating in a state of pure and weightless and timeless grace. You are safe, you are protected, and you are profoundly loved by the silence. The watch is your home, the light is your shield, and the night is your eternal and peaceful rest. Everything is still, everything is quiet, and everything is perfectly and absolutely and eternally safe. You are ready now, ready to let go of the last threads of wakefulness, to close your eyes, and to let the light carry you into the deep and quiet and boundless reaches of the dream. The lighthouse stands, the light burns, and you are held safely and warmly and eternally within the heart of the tower. You are drifting, you are floating, and you are finally and truly and beautifully at rest. The final veil of the watch begins to descend softly and slowly and inevitably as the boundaries between the lighthouse and the dreamer, between the stone and the spirit, and between the light and the dark start to shimmer and to fade and to dissolve into the absolute. You are no longer the keeper, you are the keeping. You are no longer the watcher, you are the watch itself. The lantern room with its warm brass and its mountain of crystal and its rhythmic clockwork heart has become a translucent and ethereal and ghostly vessel that is drifting and floating and meandering through the vast and indigo and boundless reaches of the inner void. There is no longer a sense of being inside a tower, but a sense of being the tower, a solitary and steadfast and sturdy pillar of light that is rooted in the very fabric of the universe. Every breath you take is now the breath of the tide. Every pulse of your heart is the pulse of the gears, and every thought is a silver beam that reaches out into the infinite. The light of the lighthouse is no longer a separate thing that rotates and sweeps and wanders across the sea. It has become a liquid and flowing and internal radiance that fills your entire being. You are glowing from within a soft and amber and golden ember that is sinking and falling and drifting into the deep and quiet and velvet charcoal of the night. The Atlantic is no longer a body of water, but a vast and echoing and fathomless sea of dreams, a medium of pure possibility where time has no meaning and space has no end. You are sinking through the layers of this sea, moving through the cold and silver and shimmering heights of the surface, down into the warm and dark and silent valleys of the deep. The pressure of the night is a comforting and grounding and protective embrace, a heavy and velvet blanket that holds you fast and keeps you safe, and whispers that it is finally time to sleep. The sound of the machinery, the steady and unwavering and faithful click-clack of the gears has transformed into a distant and murmuring and ethereal lullaby that is receding further and further into the background of your consciousness. It is a heartbeat that is slowing down, stretching out, and becoming a single and eternal and beautiful vibration. You listen to the silence that lies between the ticks, a vast and yawning and unhoot space of pure peace that grows wider and deeper with every passing second. In that space there is no noise, no light, and no self, only the profound and absolute and ancient tranquility of the void. You are falling into that space, tumbling and spiraling and drifting like a leaf in a gentle and invisible and weightless breeze. There is no resistance, no struggle, and no effort. There is only the total and absolute and heavy-lidded surrender to the dark. The world of the lighthouse, the jagged rocks, the salt mist, and the wind has become a thin and transparent and flickering memory. A dream that is being dreamt by someone else in another time. You are here in the center of the stillness, where the light and the dark are no longer enemies, but two halves of the same and perfect and holy whole. You are the shadow that hides in the corner, and you are the spark that burns in the lamp. You are the granite that stands against the storm, and you are the spray that shatters against the shore. You are everything, and you are nothing. A speck of dust in the eye of the infinite, floating in a state of pure and weightless and timeless grace. The night is not a place of emptiness, but a place of fullness, a rich and textured and multi-layered sanctuary, where the spirit is finally at home. You find yourself drifting toward the horizon, the place where the sea meets the sky and where the known meets the unknown. The line of the horizon is blurring and softening and melting away as the two great indigos of the universe merge into a single and boundless and eternal expanse. You are crossing the threshold, leaving behind the last fragments of wakefulness and stepping into the deep and quiet and holy reaches of the slumber. The light of the tower is a distant and flickering and friendly star, a tiny point of silver that guides you home to the heart of the void. You feel a sense of overwhelming and settling and grounding peace, a realization that the watch is over, the work is done, and the rest is well earned. You are safe, you are held, and you are profoundly loved by the silence. Every muscle in your body has now dissolved into the floor, into the stone, and into the very bedrock of the world. You are as heavy as the mountain, and as light as the mist. Your awareness is a thin and silver and shimmering thread that is being woven into the tapestry of the night. You are wandering and meandering and floating through the corridors of the dream, where the rooms are made of shadow and the windows look out onto the stars. There is no more need for words, no more need for thought, and no more need for vision. The dark is your sight, the silence is your voice, and the sleep is your sovereign. You are sinking deeper, now further than you have ever gone before, into the soft and velvet and charcoal depths of the eternal watch. The revolving of the light has become a slow and rhythmic and hypnotic swaying, a movement that rocks you to sleep with the grace of a mother's hand. You are in the cradle of the night, protected by the steadfast walls of the tower, and shielded by the ancient and eternal promises of the sea. The murmuring and the shushing and the soft shushing of the waves is a song of absolute and profound and unshakable safety. It tells you that the world will be here when you return, that the light will burn on, and that the stars will keep their watch whilst you rest. You are free to let go, free to vanish, and free to disappear into the warm and inviting and beautiful darkness of the void. You are drifting, you are floating, and you are sinking into the absolute. The last lingering spark of consciousness is a tiny and golden and warm ember that is slowly fading, growing smaller and dimmer and more peaceful with every breath. It is a soft extinguishing, a gentle and quiet and serene departure from the world of form. You are moving into the space between the breaths, the space between the heartbeats, and the space between the stars. Here there is only the peace, the silence, and the eternal and unchanging and holy dark. You are home. You are safe. You are asleep. The lighthouse stands a solitary and glowing and steadfast sentinel in the indigo night, but you are no longer there. You are the night itself, a boundless and indigo and echoing expanse of tranquility that covers the world and hushes the sea. The watch is eternal, the light is constant, and the sleep is profound. Everything is still, everything is quiet, and everything is perfectly and absolutely and eternally at rest. You are sinking, you are drifting, and